Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 104 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. We will look back at the weekend that was in Las Vegas. Also look ahead to the Phoenix race weekend, the final race of the West Coast Swing. We'll also have our news and notes and our Ask David segment coming up at the end of the show. David Starr joins us right now. Dominic Olagon from the RacingExperts.com is also here with us, as always. Guys, another week in the books. Glad that we're here. Dom, I'll start with you today. You and I out in Vegas, stayed at the Sahara, had a good time. A lot of good-looking women out there. Good time had by all.
It was a great time. The casino was a lot of fun. Just the Strip, the experience going around, the sightseeing, but of course the action at the racetrack, being at the Sahara. And I got to say too, this was the first time I've ever stayed on the Strip during a race weekend. So definitely a different atmosphere, different vibe this time around. A lot of fun. I recommend it to anybody. At least do it once. If you're going to a NASCAR race in Las Vegas, stay on the Strip.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah, I love Vegas. This is my second trip. Race was fun, good time. A little windy, a little too windy to be honest. But other than that, heck of a race weekend. And I went out Saturday night and I rallied to make it to the racetrack Sunday. So I call that a successful day at the office. David, you didn't make it out to Vegas with us, but we had a good time for you.
Well, man, I appreciate that. I kept up with everything, and my team, Kyle Weatherman, is driving the 02 car with Our Motorsports. I had a great race, and man, it was just a bunch of great racing there. Just disappointed that I wasn't there racing. I love racing there, want to race there before, but just you talk about the atmosphere, the racetrack, the beauty of all the mountains. When you're at the Speedway and you can see down to see the big old Las Vegas Strip from the Speedway, it's magical, and just hearing Dominic talking about staying on the Strip for the first time. I've been racing there for a long, long time, and there's no other place to stay but on the Strip. You know what I mean? The energy and all the people, and just and like you guys were saying, if you've never been to a NASCAR race in Las Vegas, I mean, it's over the top. Just all the casinos and all the everything you can do and see, and then you go see a great race at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's just an exceptional weekend of racing when they race there in Vegas.
Well, David, I know that when you've stayed there in the past for the races over the years, you've stayed at the Riviera, the Caesars Palace. You've gotten to frequent quite a few of these properties.
Yeah, I mean, it's here my good friend Brendan Gaughan, who I raced with for over 20 years. His family owns a lot of different casinos, and I've stayed at their different properties that the Gaughan family has owned, and now they own the South Point, which I'd say 80-70% of the team stay at South Point, but it's on the west side of the Las Vegas Strip. But man, over the years, just all the different casinos and the Bellagio. I mean, just you got to stay at all the different ones to kind of see the difference, and just they're over the top. They're just all beautiful, and it's amazing all the people in there and how beautiful they are. It's just, I don't know. Even when there's not a NASCAR race and you go to Vegas, you're still just blown away of how massive everything is, and the new this and what's being built, and now the new stadium there for the what is it? The Oakland, what do you call it? The Las Vegas Raiders.
Man, it's just the
Oakland
Raiders. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an awesome place to go have a great time, and then they have a NASCAR race on top of it. That's just a big bonus, you know what I mean? And I'm glad you guys had a great time. A lot of great racing happened this past weekend, and I was just disappointed that I wasn't there to be part of it, but I was busy back here working at my racing school, getting stuff ready. I got a lot of racing schools coming up, but anyway, what a great weekend of racing you guys got to witness.
Oh, it was incredible. Had a great time, and ultimately at the end of the day, it was William Byron getting the win. Guys, let's start there this week with William Byron getting it done. Dominic, he had the dominant car throughout much of the day. And I know that, Chase Elliott didn't race this past week, and he's going to be out for a bit with that, injury that he had to his leg in the snow mobile accident. We'll talk more about that later. But the way that he raced, William Byron did, and was the class of the field, and his team beating that 5 car off pit road and everything. My overreaction Monday, if you want to call it that, I think I'm willing to say, I know it's only week 3, but I got a feeling, Dom, that 24 team and William Byron, this might be their year to be the flagship team of Hendrick Motorsports. 2 years ago, it was Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson. He went on to win the championship, winning 9 races. Last year, Chase Elliott won 5 races, more than any other driver in the sport, and was the team to beat at Hendrick. This might be William Byron, that 24 team's turn.
It could be. Last year, too, William Byron, I believe, was the first driver among the entire Cup Series competition to win multiple races. He knocked off the win in Atlanta, then he goes on to win at Martinsville a few weeks later, and it looked like last year could have been that, but he's won even earlier this season. And he even said it on Sunday, talking with the media and doing his interviews and press conferences, that he's never flat out gone out and dominated a Cup race like he did on Sunday. Granted, he did get some help from that late race caution, but that's right. NASCAR is a team sport. It's a team effort. It's not only the driver, it's also the pit crew. And that pit crew was able to get him off first. That made the big difference. That race goes green. Kyle Larson cruises to that victory. Had that played out different on pit road, Larson had gotten ahead of William Byron at the end of pit road, we'd be talking about a Kyle Larson victory. That pit crew was clutch too, Tyler. It was an all-around effort for William Byron in that 24 team. And it's only the 3rd race of the year. This could be a breakout year for a very young part of his career and so many more years to go. The first of greatness.
David, let me ask you, we've seen William Byron get better every single year and take significant steps. He said after the race that winning the first 1.5 mile race and the way that they did it, it was a statement race for them. Do you think that William Byron can take that next step this year? We could be talking about him as a realistic championship contender here.
Well, Tyler, I definitely agree with what you're saying there. No doubt about it. And, William Byron is just an exceptional, just an awesome race car driver, and over the years, he's getting better and better. But, the common denominator when you're talking about Kyle Larson, William Byron, it's Hendrick Motorsports, the dominance of Hendrick Motorsports, how that organization, and Dominic said it best, it's such the organization, the teams, it's just the whole organization, and all 4 of their teams are championship caliber teams, and you look at William Byron and, you look at who's really running the organization led by Rick Hendricks, but Jeff Gordon's the I don't know if he's a vice president. I don't really know.
He is. Yeah, vice chairman.
Vice chairman. But you have, 4-time champion Jeff Gordon there overseeing everything. And you got a young William Byron with a whole lot of talent. And what you're saying, Tyler, I believe we could be seeing and witnessing a breakout year for William Byron. He's got the ability, he has the talent, he has the organization behind him, GM, and I couldn't disagree with you. This could be William Byron's breakout year, and like you said, if the late caution wouldn't have came out, it looked like another Hendrick Motorsports car was going to win the race, so you just, and we talk about it year in and year out, the dominance of Hendrick Motorsports, but it wouldn't surprise me to see William Byron have a breakout year because, he's been strong over the years. And I think every race and every season, he just gets better and better as a race car driver. And this could be the breakout year for him.
Yeah. He's gotten better every single year, but taking that next step, that championship level step, could be what we're talking about for William Byron here. And Dominic, David brings up a good point of when you look at these championship caliber teams, it's more than just the driver, right? It's everything else has to go right. You got Hendrick. Chevrolet looks like the class of the field through these first few races so far. We know Rudy Fugle and him have a really good, matching going on between those two. They're on a good page. Rudy's done a terrific job since moving to the Cup Series. And then it's, Rick Hendrick up top, Jeff Gordon, Chad Knaus. Can't forget about him calling the shots as competition director and all that. Just all those things, all those pieces together. And I would add this too, the 24 car, Jeff Gordon, as David mentioned, running the operation, they take a lot of pride in that 24 car. And Jeff in particular does. I mean, they're going all in. William Byron I think is going to have everything he needs at his disposal to try to make this championship run.
Oh, certainly. And I believe William Byron's never advanced to the round of 8 as a championship contender. That could very well change this year. You have a dominating performance like you did on Sunday, and you have that well-rounded, all-around team effort. You got to think that the crew chief pairing that they have and the history dating back to the Truck Series and all those victories and being reunited in the Cup Series, him and Rudy, they are onto something here, Tyler. And 5 career wins really doesn't tell the story of just how good William Byron is and how that level, just the level of competition that he's racing against. He's racing against some guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. We know William Byron will be a contender for that at some point too, because he's just getting started. He's an Xfinity Series champion. He's got the 5 wins in the Cup Series. And he's only in his early 20s. He's going to be doing this a long time. William Byron's name is going to be very much a household name in the Cup Series. I do agree with you.
Yeah, and he's good everywhere too. Winning a mile and a half. We've seen him win on short tracks, restrictor plates. He's good wherever he jumps in a race car. Watch out. We'll see what William Byron can do. We mentioned Team Chevy. 3 straight wins for Chevy to start off the season. 3 different winners, but 3 Chevy wins. David, you're around that Chevy operation this year there with Howard Motorsports. What do you think about what Chevy's done this strong start to the year? Do you think they got something figured out, or would you expect the other manufacturers to catch up with Chevy here?
Well, man, it's so competitive on the Cup side, and I can assure you that Chevy, Ford, Toyota, these manufacturers, they're involved and embedded in the NASCAR for one thing only, and that's to win races, win championships, but have an organization like Hendrick Motorsports, and you look at the RCR organization, Hendrick organization, Chevy behind it, it's just, I don't know. Chevrolet has always been, I think about Chevrolet, I think of championships and winners, and, we're not surprised by it. With you look at the level of talent that drives for these GM teams, RCR, Trackhouse, you look at, Hendrick Motorsports, and you look at the resources that they have, the sponsors behind them, and man, it's just, I'm not surprised by it. Chevy's involved. They want to run races on Sundays and sell cars on Monday morning, and man, it's always been that way. So, but I think what we've seen the first, we're just freshly into the new season, but we are seeing somewhat of a early dominance from GM Chevrolet, and we know that the sport is so competitive, but man, from what it appears that Chevrolet's making a statement early on this year. They're going to be a manufacturer. Obviously, they're serious about winning another title. And so I don't know. I'm not surprised by it because they're not involved in auto racing, all forms of auto racing. To be out there, they come to contend, to win, and to win championships.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Let's talk about Chase Elliott now. Going to be out for a bit. Missed this past week's race with the injury that he suffered when he was out, doing his snow thing and enjoying himself, snowboarding up in Colorado. And Kyle Busch says expect him to be out at least a month. We haven't heard NASCAR grant a waiver, although it's expected that he'll get the playoff waiver. With that said, David, first and foremost, it was a freak accident, right? I mean, I don't think that this could have happened to anybody. Chase Elliott deserves to enjoy his life. Any of the criticism that he's getting for going out and snowboarding, is that fair or foul?
Well, I mean, Chase Elliott, just a great young man that's successful as a NASCAR race car driver, championship driver, and he works hard, represents the sport. He's a poster child for NASCAR and all his different sponsors. The guy works hard and loves what he does. And I don't know about you guys, but we all work hard, and man, the fruits of your labor. I mean, if you're out California, Las Vegas, you got a little downtime in between races and you want to fly over to Colorado and take in some snowboarding, what's wrong with enjoying your life? You work hard, you play hard, so a lot of competitors over the years that I raced against that are friends of mine. I mean, hell, you work your tail off and race your tail off, and you spend a lot of time with the fans and your sponsors. What's wrong with going and doing something you really enjoy, and that could happen to anybody. Everybody goes snow skiing and snowboarding and snowmobile riding, and I've had some friends over the years that have some snowmobile accidents that unfortunately it took their lives. You know what I mean? That's dangerous. And we all know that. I to be honest with you, I love to water ski. I love going to the lake, love the beaches, but I don't think I've ever been snow skiing in my life, which is bizarre. When I tell people that, they're like, what? But you guys have heard, and there's been so many different accidents, snow skiing accidents, and I really can't really comprehend it because I've never tried it. It looks like it would be awesome, and I look forward to trying it one day, but it is dangerous, and I don't know. I mean, it's hard to, anybody, no matter if you're Chase Elliott or a football player or baseball player or, or anybody that works hard in your profession, you want to go enjoy yourself. And I don't know. I don't know if I can fault Chase Elliott for wanting to go snow skiing, and accidents do happen, and man, just over the years, the different drivers, you hear somebody got injured, this happened. It's just part of life, it's just, it's an accident. You don't expect it to happen, and you definitely don't expect to injure yourself where you can't climb into your Hendrick Chevrolet, Camaro to go compete the next week. So, it's a tough deal. I mean, I don't know to say, you get out of your race car on Sunday evenings, and what do? You just, you can't really do much of anything just because you're racing all year. I don't know if that's fair, but I don't know, guys. It's hard to really navigate that question. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I mean, it's just a tough one.
Well, and Dominic, if there's any silver lining to this situation at all, one, Chase should be able to recover and be fine. That's the most important thing. But two, it was early in the year, and Chase can have time, fully recover, still go win a race and make the playoff. And we've seen that Hendrick speed already off to a good start and everything. I would be shocked if Chase doesn't come back and still win a race or two and get in the postseason at this point.
Absolutely. It's so early in the year. He might be out as maybe 5-6 weeks. And that point you were making too on the charter, I think it's worth noting that NASCAR official Elton Sawyer, who's a former NASCAR Xfinity Series driver and winner, went on Sirius XM radio earlier this week and did say, we don't really see why Chase Elliott shouldn't be granted a waiver. Granted, they have to still go through and check all the boxes and do their due process on it. But recall too, Tony Stewart had this issue in 2016. He was injured in an off-season crash. I believe they were racing dirt bikes or something out in the desert in Arizona or California. And he ended up missing the first 8 or 9 races of the season. They had Brian Vickers, Ty Dillon come in and run some races until he came back. Oh, and he won a race. He won Sonoma. He was able to make the playoffs. We could see that with Chase Elliott. And to your point too, David, these guys, yeah, they're weekend grinders. They're living their dream job. But at the same point too, you have that public persona and that private persona. You're entitled to a private life. And that was something that was brought up this weekend in Vegas too, that these guys still need to live their lives outside of the race car. There's more to life than driving the race car. They are people at the end of the day, and they have their hobbies too and their interests. Chase Elliott could have been injured walking down the sidewalk.
Right. David, real quick, should NASCAR give Chase that waiver?
Well, I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about all the rules. For me personally, my personal opinion is I think they should, but it needs to be fair for everybody that competes at that level. I just thinking about it, man, looking back on personally when I got injured back in 2002, 2003, I think the worst part of my injuries was going to the racetrack and watching some other race car driver drive my race car. I mean, I think that hurt me the worst. You know what I mean? Even though I was injured, my injuries were very painful. But for Chase, it eats him up not being in his race car. But to answer your question, Tyler, I believe they should. I don't know all the ins and outs and in the rules on that kind of stuff. Just as long as it's fair for all teams, all competitors, I'm okay with it. When NASCAR starts, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm good with that. Sure, all the teams and competitors are as well. Because like you said, things happen. This was an accident. And we're all human. We all have personal lives. We all like to go on vacation, go water skiing, or go hiking, go snow skiing, whatever. And things happen. So I just can't see not really punishing him, but if he's able to get back in his race car and win a race, I think he deserves to be part of the playoffs. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. I think Dominic agrees too that
Yes.
That waiver should be granted. He should have a chance to compete for that championship. With that said, David, what an opportunity in that 9 car for Josh Berry. He's an older guy for being as young as he is in the Xfinity Series, but we know that he's a terrific talent and hasn't been lucky when it comes to sponsorship. That he didn't bring his own funding, and that's what kind of kept him out from moving up the ranks for the longest time. And then now we've seen this past year the Xfinity Series, Bass Pro's gotten behind him, Black Rifle Coffee, and now here he is getting a shot in the Cup Series in about as good as you can get, that 9 championship caliber car here. David, I know you like Josh Berry here. What an opportunity it is for this guy to prove himself on the biggest stage.
Well, I mean, I just think it's wonderful. An unfortunate situation, grabbing a Josh Berry out of the Xfinity Series. I think that's perfect, and Josh Berry's story is just amazing. It lets all the men, the boys and girls, or the people out there racing these short track, dirt tracks, asphalt tracks around the country in the NASCAR weekly racing series, that this can happen to you. This is a possibility if you work hard enough, dream big enough, be very passionate. You look at Josh Berry and you say, this can happen to me. So, I love that Josh Berry drives for Dale Earnhardt Inc. I love that he's a champion. He wins. He's great. He's a great talent. And I'm excited that it was Josh Berry that Hendricks gave the phone call to put in replacement of Chase Elliott while Chase is injured. I just think it's a great Cinderella story for many, many reasons. And one of the biggest reasons, it just lets people know, a lot of these, you hear, I go to a lot of racetracks when I get done racing on the weekends at a NASCAR race somewhere, I'll find a dirt track or a little asphalt track. And, you see these young kids, boys and girls that are very talented. And you introduce yourself, you talk to them, say, man, I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity because I don't have money, and, I always just tell them, hey, man, anything's possible if you work hard enough, you dream big enough, and you don't ever give up on that dream. It's possible. And Josh Berry lets everybody know around the country that it is possible. And I think it's awesome to see him driving Chase Elliott's car.
Dominic, this past week in his debut, Josh Berry, he finished the race. They didn't run good, but nonetheless, I believe it was his first time ever in a next-gen car, and they completed it, which in itself was a success. Over these next few weeks, what do you think would be considered a successful run, I guess, for Josh Berry? What does he need to accomplish here while he fills in for Chase Elliott over these next few weeks?
I think personally for him, you want to be realistic, but at the same point, you're a competitor. You want to get the best finish you can. If you can't win, you want to be running as close to the front as possible. I would say for Josh, running as many laps as you can, getting as much experience in these next-gen vehicles. Here's your opportunity to really showcase what you can do with a really good team. Las Vegas happened. It was so fast. He qualified 34th, finished 29th, a couple laps down. I talked to them after the race on Sunday, and he just wanted to get as much experience as he could in the car. And he felt like by the end of the race, they were running competitive lap times. But of course, it was a little too late. And his teammates finished 1, 2, 3, and 29th for Josh Berry. But Phoenix, I think we'll see a better Josh Berry. He has to run better. If he wants to show that, look, I can run in the Cup Series, I can run with these guys, he knows what's at stake here. This is his audition. That, hey, look, I can do this. I can go run up front. I can click off top 10 finishes. Tyler, I would say top 15 and top 10 finishes over the next several weeks would be great goals, obtainable goals, and I think it would just keep the conversation going of, yes, Josh Berry belongs, and he belongs to be racing on Sundays at some point.
Yeah, and we've seen guys have these opportunities in the past with Hendrick and capitalize. Case in point, Alex Bowman right there. I think we all agree, had Alex Bowman never got a shot, never filled in for Junior in that 88 car, he would not be in the 48 right now. I think we could say that almost for certain. With that said, let's move ahead to Phoenix this week. Dominic, you're going to be out there. What do you make of this Phoenix race here as teams? Well, I know it's a long ways off from right now. The championship race will be at Phoenix. This race, although it's the fourth race of the year, because they're coming back here at the end of the year, is way more important than most races that are around this early in the season here.
Exactly. It's only the fourth time since NASCAR moved to Phoenix. You have a race that you're going to run during the regular season and then a race that's your championship event. Because recall, we had the championship event at Homestead Miami Speedway, but everybody kind of went in blind. It was the last race of the year and that racetrack's first race of each and every season. There's a good chance here. And David, you could speak more on this too. As a driver, you work with your crew chief, you work with your team all season. I feel like you can really come to the track and build that notebook, what setups work in practice and qualifying trim, race trim, and at least have a general idea. I know you can't really copy and paste all that stuff 100% over to your next event, but I feel like as a driver and crew chief, you can at least work together and find out what works and what doesn't. This gives you a good idea of what to build for that championship race.
Like we said, this is the fourth race of the new season. And you got to remember the last race of the season, the championship race to crown our champions, was at Phoenix. So it wasn't that long ago that we were at championship weekend there in Phoenix. And I think a lot of teams will take advantage of maybe trying something new. It's not a test because it's a race, but I think the engineers and the crew chief, it gives you an opportunity to really, you want to say, I want to learn something. We want to try to be very competitive, try to win the race, but let's try something a little bit different, and see if look at the data, look at everything and try something different to see if it's better. And I would say this is a weekend to probably do that, because they probably got a baseline from just being there ending the season this past season. They probably got a good baseline, and a lot of teams, hey, is it good enough? How have we ran with that set up? And as an organization, I'm sure they're like, hey, we're going to try this, try that, and just to see if it's better. And if it's not better, well, you can go back to your baseline, or you might stumble on something that's really good. So I don't know. I just think the first race here that's going to end this West Coast swing at Phoenix, it will be somewhat of a kind of a test to try different things. So when you do go back on the last race of the season for the championship, to kick, to crown our champions, maybe what they found, early on at the first Phoenix race, they can benefit from it. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but definitely I think is a time to try something different. They might be thinking different this, different that, and the only way you really know if it's going to work is to plug it into the race car and see. So going to be interesting. It's always exciting. The races at Phoenix are always great, just the way the racetrack is laid out. The restarts are over the top. I mean, you guys, y'all see those restarts where they're
amazing.
4, 5, 6 wide. It's amazing. And but it's definitely going to be an exciting weekend of racing. And one thing about it, William Byron's going to go into Phoenix race with a whole lot of confidence and a whole lot of momentum behind him. So I don't know. It's just, man, I love watching them. Truck race, Xfinity race, Cup race, Phoenix. It's just you can run on the bottom, you run up there on the wall. It's just, I don't know. It's just a great place to race.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to watch out for that 24 car Jeff Gordon Raceway, Dominic, the Chevy team's obviously going to be the ones to beat, in particular, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch. Who do you think is most likely to crack that mold of a non-Chevy team?
Well, you mentioned Jeff Gordon Raceway, but I remember a time too during that era of the Jeff Gordon Raceway where it was the Kevin Harvick Invitational at Phoenix Racing. I am pulling a David here, Tyler, but every week, David picks Kevin Harvick to win every week, but I think Kevin Harvick could be the one to break that mold in his farewell season. A guy that's won at this track 9 times, the king of Phoenix Raceway. Kevin Harvick could be the guy to do that, Tyler.
Yeah. I think you might be on something there. They should be calling it Kevin Harvick Raceway this weekend. Forever, right? With that said, we'll our official picks this week. I'm going with Dom. I'm going with Kyle Larson. We've seen him win a championship at this place before. Came very close last week. I think Kyle Larson gets into victory lane and it gets it done, keeps the momentum for Chevy going. Are you sticking with Kevin Harvick, or do you like a Chevy team more, Dom?
Man, the Chevy teams have looked strong this year, but I will say Kevin Harvick breaks that mold. I'm pulling a David. I got to pick Kevin Harvick to win Phoenix this week. And I picked Blaney twice this year. I've been going Ford camp, guys. You would think I'm a Ford guy based on who I'm picking. Kevin Harvick gets it done Sunday.
All right, David. Yeah. Does your guy Harvick end Chevy's dominance here?
Just talking about the dominance of Chevy so early in the season, but you look at Kyle Busch, you look at, William Byron, you look at Kyle Larson, you look at Ross Chastain, Ross Chastain's teammate. I mean, you just look at the Chevy teams, all of them have been strong, So, I'm going to follow Dominic because I'm going to step out there because, Kevin Harvick, it was Kevin Harvick International, Kevin Harvick Phoenix Raceway, because he dominated that place for so many years. And be kind of cool to see Kevin Harvick drive back into victory lane, one more time there at Phoenix, But, man, it's so competitive. There's so many people, different drivers that can win the race Sunday. But I would like to see Kevin Harvick pull off another win in his final season. So I'm going to go with him, guys.
All right. There you have it. Our news and notes segment coming up next. Still have Ask David coming up at the end of the show as well. Dominic, let's go ahead and catch us up to speed on the latest headlines in the sport.
Yeah, some of the one we talked out throughout the show, and I think it just deserves a closer look there too. We know Chase Elliott's going to be out for a few weeks. Josh Berry's going to take the reins for most of the race, but what we didn't talk about that Jordan Taylor is going to be taking the reins of the number 9 car at the Circuit of the Americas. So Jordan took the social media, announced that Hendrick Motorsports pegged him and said he was honored to be able to run the Circuit of the America race later this month for the 9 team. He has the road racing background, run some IMSA races, and has done some work with Jeff Gordon. I believe they even teamed up maybe for a 24 hours a Daytona. I might have that wrong. Please let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But big opportunity here in a one-off deal to really showcase what he can do with Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, David, we don't see the road course ringers hardly much anymore. Obviously, this is a unique circumstance here, but what do you make of Jordan Taylor getting the opportunity there at COTA here in a couple weeks?
Man, I think it's kind of cool. I don't know Jordan Taylor very well, but every year he's a road racing ace, and you watch him in the 24-hour Daytona races, Sebrings. I mean, this guy is the Kyle Larson of road racing. You know what I mean? He's good, and I think it's a great choice, and man, what an opportunity for Jordan to get the call from Hendricks, but it was interesting when I heard the news, but I think it's a great pick. The guy's just a road racing ace. He's very knowledgeable and one of the all-time best road racers. So it'd be kind of, it's interesting. It's going to be cool to see how he does. And I was kind of surprised that Hendricks reached out to him. I would have thought it would have been somebody different, but now that the news has come out, I'm excited for Jordan, and I hope he does well. You know what I mean? I think he's earned enough. He's won enough championships and races that he's earned the right to have that opportunity. So I'm excited for him and hope he does well with the opportunity.
Well, and Dominic, I would put it this way. Some people are going to say, well, why not just stay with Josh Berry or whatever? I don't think it's a knock on Josh Berry at all. I mean, they've shown a lot of confidence to, give him that ride right away. But at the end of the day, too, they're fighting for owners' points. They're trying to, stay in contention and everything. They owe it to themselves to find the best option they can on the road courses, evaluate every track race by race. It's not a knock on Berry. It's more so what Hendrick has to look out for their own best interests right now.
And they're giving their team the best opportunity having Jordan in that 9 car. You have an experienced road racer who has cut his teeth making his living as a race car driver, racing road courses. It makes sense. It's a partnership that really makes sense to put him behind the wheel, somebody who's had experience racing different types of road racing events. And now we get to see him behind the wheel of the 9 car. I think it's a good call, Tyler.
Yeah, I think so too. Dominic, what else going on?
So this weekend, we also had openers for the IndyCar Series and Formula One, but at least within the United States, TV ratings show that NASCAR was the top watched motorsport of the weekend. Now, ratings were down from last year compared to this NASCAR race weekend, a few percentage points, but
not by much.
Not by much. And comparatively to the other racing series, NASCAR really beat out IndyCar and Formula One. IndyCar had the opener there in St. Petersburg and F1 in Bahrain. NASCAR is still the dominating motorsport of the country. And I think it needs to be noted, too, these 3 were not going head to head. They were all at different time slots.
David, I liked that they were able to have all 3 races in different windows where if you're a gearhead, a racing fan, on Sunday, if you wanted to, you could have watched all 3 races without being interrupted by the other one and just enjoyed yourself a day. Usually we're only talking about that opportunity getting to happen, Memorial Day weekend, but I would love to see more of this and maybe more of these doubleheader type weekends where NASCAR and IndyCar are at the same track, stuff like that. To me, if you can get these motorsports on the same page promoting each other, I think it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I knew they did it in Indianapolis last couple of years where they run the Indy cars, I think, the day before, right after Xfinity race, and then the Cup race on Sunday. But, it doesn't hurt to, we're all racing fans, auto racing fans. Obviously, we're passionate and love NASCAR, but I just like all forms of auto racing, and I love it when they cross promote. And what I'm trying to say is, if you can bring an IndyCar, a double hitter, you got an IndyCar race with a NASCAR race. I don't know. I just think it's good for IndyCar racing and it's good for NASCAR, and it's just good for auto racing enthusiasts. But man, to hearing that that NASCAR compared to the Formula One and the IndyCar race, it had the most viewers. I mean, I'm proud of our sport. I'm proud of the NASCAR our industry, and I'll say it now, and I've always said it. I think the NASCAR Cup Series is the world's largest, most popular form of auto racing in the world. Even though it's here in the United States, I think from a viewer,
Well, and I would say this, Dom, yes, F1 I think is the sexy of the three sports, if you want to call it that, the three series, the one that is resonating probably most with the younger audience, but NASCAR is still king in America. And even with the increased popularity in F1 and everything, I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think that F1 still has room to grow, but I don't ever see F1 being more popular than NASCAR in the United States.
No, not overall, at least not for a while. And I think maybe we might see a spike in November. Well, but then again, we don't have F1 competing with the NASCAR race when they do have the Las Vegas race later this year. That will be interesting to see what the ratings look like from that event because of the hype and building it up, kind of like a Super Bowl event and an elite event with tickets costing so much and so much hype going around that event. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Tyler, I could see Las Vegas F1 having the opportunity to have a really good ratings night, but outside of that, it's just not going to happen week in and week out. Not at this time.
Yeah. Dominic, check your phone. I believe we have one more news item to get to here that's pretty juicy, actually.
Pretty juicy. So Toyota is looking yeah, this just in, right? Yes, Toyota looking to add more NASCAR teams to the 2024 season. Toyota's always been about quality over quantity, but when asked with SiriusXM if trackside racing would be interested in swapping to Toyota, Justin Marks said the team is going to stay with Chevrolet. Toyota's on track to be good for David Wilson and Toyota and good for his group over there, but it just doesn't mesh with Trackhouse, is what Justin Marks said. They're staying Chevy, Tyler. They're not going anywhere.
Well, I mean, they've been a natural fit with ECR engines. We heard Denny Hamlin even say that right now it's not Hendrick engines, it's not Gibbs, that ECR has the best engines in the sport right now. So Trackhouse certainly taking advantage of that. But with that said, Toyota looking to expand some teams here. David, you've run with Toyota in the past and seen how they operate and everything. I know you're with Chevy right now, but I mean, Toyota, the support they provide their teams, where if they add more teams, they're going to go all in. You can expect if they add more teams, they're going to be competitive where that may be in 2024.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Tyler. But a couple of things, talking about Trackhouse, I don't know why Trackhouse would now, in I think their third season as a Cup team, they have so much success early on, winning races, almost won the championship. I don't know why you'd want to change manufacturer. What they got going on with the engines and the support they get from GM and the races they've won and almost winning the championship this year. I mean, it would take lots and lots and lots of money from Toyota to get them to change, and sounds like they might even thrown, the bank at them and they still didn't take it. But, let me assure you that there's opportunities for organizations out there, because when they come knocking at your door, I can assure you it's hard not to jump on board with them because of the technology, the engineering. Man, you've seen it over the years, since Toyota came into NASCAR years ago. They don't just come just to participate. They bring lots of resources, and they're very serious about their auto racing and winning. So I don't know, hearing that Toyota is looking to expand their NASCAR involvement with other teams, I think we will hear news in the future sooner than later that will surprise us. You know what I mean? And I think you'll see some teams that we probably wouldn't think that would jump ship. But man, Toyota does bring a lot to the table from an engineering standpoint, technology standpoint, and so I think when we start hearing who's going to jump over to the Toyota side, I think it'll be big news.
Dom, if they go with an existing team, I was kind of thinking about it. Roush is too invested in the Ford engine program. Same with RCR with Chevy. Stewart Haas, it's no secret Tony Stewart doesn't like Toyota, so that's probably unlikely too. I was thinking about it, and Legacy Motor Club intrigues me as far as a potential Toyota deal. Could you envision Jimmy Johnson driving a non-Chevy, granted part-time, but he and the King being involved in an ownership group with a Toyota team and getting away from Chevy? You want to make a splash with Trackhouse out of the picture, at least for now anyway. That could be the splash Toyota's looking for.
That would be the splash. Not going to happen. Rick Ware Racing would convert over to Toyotas before we see Legacy Motor Club become a Toyota team. Jimmy Johnson and his loyalty to Chevrolet. He's won his 7 championships and 83 Cup wins.
I mean, he drove Honda and IndyCar and not Chevrolet.
We're not going to count that. That's separate. If we're looking just NASCAR, there's no way we're going to see 7-time and his team affiliated because we know he's the one in charge. He's the man running the show now. I just don't see it. Stranger things have happened, but no.
David, is there an existing team to you that stands out that could be a prime candidate for Toyota to look at?
I would just say anything's possible. You know what I mean? Anything's possible. Y'all know it takes lots and lots of funding to build these organizations to the point where they can win races week in and week out and contend for championships. It takes lots and lots of funding to do that. So, I would just say anything's possible, and we know that Toyota has very, very deep pockets, and, so I think anything's possible. I can't really sit here and speculate on which team. Y'all bring up a good point about legacy but anything's possible. I'm just, I'm kind of, be interesting to see sooner than later who makes that jump. And I think we'll all be surprised by it,
Yeah, I think so. Before we get out of here, our Ask David segment coming up next. We ask you to submit questions to us, whether it be on Facebook at Starr Podcast, Twitter at Starr Podcast, also via email, davidstarpodcast@gmail.com is where you can find us there. And Dominic, in the inbox, Felice had a friend, your wife, that wanted to ask a question this week, right?
Yeah, Elena said, you want to take the question or do you want me to present it?
You go ahead. Tell the story how it came up.
Yeah, so Felice getting to know NASCAR and just talking with some of her friends and just what we do here on the show and what David does outside of driving the race car. The Team Texas school got brought up, and it actually made me curious too. Elena, her friend, wanted to know, so David, the vehicles that you run, we know that NASCAR vehicles take a lot of upkeep and maintenance. Engines are overhauled after every race, but for you at your Team Texas school, how often are you maintaining the cars? We know you're at the shop a lot, but do you have engines break down? Do you have to overhaul things after 500 miles like a cup car? Do you have to do it sooner? Do you have to do it later? What does that all look like? What does the maintenance and the upkeep of the vehicles you have at your racing school look like?
Man, that's a great question, Dom. And, just like any successful business, what you put in it is what you get out of it, and these, our NASCAR racing teams that crisscross America, after each race, you're obviously rebuilding cars and inspecting parts and make sure there's no failures and replacing parts, and you can only run, you can mileage out parts just because you don't want failures. So our driving school, after each driving school, and now that I bought Team Texas from my uncle Mike Starr, man, I'm over the top maintenance. You know what I mean? Because our product is really our race cars. When we're open to the public and have hundreds and hundreds of people that show up to drive our race cars, one thing you don't want is to have a mechanical problem. We've been very fortunate over the years to really not have that many. Things are going to happen when you're having mechanical anything, but for the driving school, after each event, we wash our cars. We start from the bumper and we go to the front bumper. We check nuts and bolts. We look, inspect, change gear oils, change oil. We probably do more maintenance than what's really required. And then our engines, we only run the engines. We'll run them about, a year's time. We run them a year, and then we take them out and put another new engine and have that engine freshened up, new pistons, new rings, redo the cylinder heads. But, any successful business, you have to really stay on top of everything. And one of the biggest things for a NASCAR racing school is to make sure that you keep everything is fresh, maintenance, lubed up, greased up. And man, y'all know how, you guys know me personally. Y'all know how I like everything perfect, and the guys that work for me, our routine is maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. If something's broke, we fix it. Something's scratched, we paint it. And but I spent a lot of time. Here it is. What time is it? 11:15 on a Tuesday night, and you see where I'm at. I'm at my shop, and but it's when we go back to any job and any profession, I'm very passionate about NASCAR racing and being a NASCAR race car driver. And now that I own a NASCAR racing school, I'm very passionate about it. I love every aspect of it. And you work your tail off, but if you love what you do so much, you really never work a day in your life, if that makes sense. But to answer the question, there's a lot of maintenance go into maintenance up as many race cars that we have that make up Team Texas High Performance Driving School.
Very fascinating. Interesting.
Great answer.
Yeah, very great answer. Next question in the inbox comes from Megan. Megan wants to know, David, we know that NASCAR drivers are athletes, but I want to know, could you or other drivers have been professional athletes in other sports?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many, with all the NASCAR truck racers and Xfinity drivers and Cup Series racers, you'd be surprised how talented the drivers are in other sports. When I say other sports, baseball players, golfers, there's a lot of race car drivers that are exceptional golf players, and I think if they wasn't race car drivers, they'd probably be on the PGA Tour. So to answer that question is, I think, there's been some race car drivers that are just been exceptional bowlers, and to the point where they could have been a professional bowler, and I think, so it's always interesting to hear what, a professional athlete, NASCAR race car driver, what their hobbies are. And these hobbies, could actually make a living doing what they're good at and with their hobbies, So yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I would say golf players, baseball players, bowlers, so absolutely. That's a great question. And, these professional NASCAR race car drivers could make a living being a professional athlete in other sports. You know what I mean? And I think It's a great question, an interesting question, but I think the fans would love it if, if all the different NASCAR drivers would share with the fans, and a lot of them are probably already know what their hobbies are and how good they are at them. You know what I mean? And to ask them the question, if you wasn't a NASCAR race car driver, professional race car driver, could you make it as a professional in what hobbies that you're really passionate about and you're really good at? So I think that's a very interesting question that makes you think, and I think we would all be surprised.
Let's flip it back on you, David. Let's say if you weren't a NASCAR driver and you were gonna pursue another sport back in your day, like what was your best sport growing up besides racing? Like I know that you were an athlete growing up and everything. What would you have wanted to pursue and be an athlete in if you weren't going to be a race car driver?
Man, that's really cool. One of the I was a great baseball player, and a great baseball player. I don't know when I say great if I was good enough. There's a lot of great baseball players, but the people pay in the major leagues, they're exceptional. There's a lot of teams out there, but as you guys know, it's tough to be a professional anything. You know what I'm saying? So, I sometimes I think about boxing. I used to box, and and I still spar for workout for only workout purposes only. But maybe a baseball player or a boxer. So
yeah. Dominic, I feel like if we ask this question to a number of drivers, we can get a variety of answers, kind of like what David was talking about there. I mean, I know that some people get caught up in thinking about, Tony Stewart called himself fat all the time or whatever. But I mean, beyond that, that's kind of the exception. Jimmy Johnson kind of reset the standard of he and the Carl Edwards types of these racers being true athletes in that sense.
Oh, big time. I look at somebody like Carl Edwards or Ryan Newman, guys that were like in really, really good shape. Ryan Newman looks like he could play linebacker for an NFL team. Carl Edwards looks like he's going to drop back on a 5-step drop, make some reads, and throw a pass as a quarterback in the NFL. Some of these drivers, you're right. Josh Wise, somebody else that really didn't make it as far as climbing that rung in NASCAR, but drivers train with him, triathlete, doing everything you can to keep your body a well-oiled machine. A lot of these guys are in really, really good shape. I mean, we always hear, oh, are drivers athletes? Of course they're athletes. They train just like any other sport to be the best at their craft. But as far as crossing over to other disciplines, Tyler, the names I think of that immediately cross to mind, Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Ryan Newman, guys like this that you could tell they would excel in other sports just by looking at them. They never to judge a book by its cover, but you can judge the book by its cover if they're very athletic. You can tell.
Well, and the two things too that are so important to athletics that I think you can point to a lot of these NASCAR drivers: passion, competitiveness, which most of these guys have, and then instinct, and they got that too, and that bodes well across all sports as far as that goes. One more thing on this, David, along these same lines. You've worked with and talked to a number of crew guys over the years, and most, or at least a decent number, David, are former college and professional athletes themselves.
Man, y'all brought up a good point. You walk up and down pit road any given weekend at a NASCAR race, and you see these pit crew members, men and women, and you stop and visit with them and introduce yourself to them. And man, you're looking at a defensive lineman. You know what I mean? It's like, man, you're looking at a very fit, athletic person, and you say, "Hey, how did you become a tire changer for Trackhouse, or Hendricks or whatever organization they're with?" So, well, man, I was a football player in college, and I played for the Detroit Lions for a couple of years, and I hurt my knee or I injured this, and man, I don't know what the percentage is, but man, the men and women that are pitting these race cars on any given Sunday are former NFL players. And when I speak about the women, man, there's some girls in our sport that are very impressive athletes themselves. And I ask them. I was a basketball player. I ran track in college, and they hear about opportunities in NASCAR, and they come over here and they're very athletic. And man, they ended up really making it as a pit crew member that service these race cars when we pull down pit road. But man, there's a lot of former NFL players, a lot of former college athlete football players on pit road that service these race cars.
That's cool. Dom, I don't know about you. I know that you and I aren't much of athletes, at least anymore anyway. But I would love to try to be the gas man or something like that. I'd love to take my shot at trying to pit a car.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be a lot of fun to go over the wall and try to help make a team and make that difference. There'd be a lot of fun, even on a pit crew for a day. Tyler, if you ever get the chance, the NASCAR Hall of Fame has the opportunity to jack up a vehicle, change some lug nuts. Back when the Cup Series was doing their 5 lug nut thing, I'm sure that thing is maybe 1 lug nut now. But you could actually go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame practice to be on a pit crew.
Okay, we'll end on this, David. Let's say that you're the crew chief, and Dominic and I are going to be on your crew. What are you putting us as? What's our assignments on the pit crew, me and Dominic?
Well, y'all's assignment just to make sure that the pit crew has water and they have what they need. Make sure that there's anything the guys need. They're hungry, they're thirsty, or whatever, before their cars come down pit road.
Are you sure? I don't think Tyler and I are opposed to being tire carriers. We could lift the tire.
Yeah, you mentioned something, the experience there at the Hall of Fame in downtown Charlotte, and where you get to have an opportunity to handle an impact wrench and change, hit 5 lug nuts off and put 5 lug nuts on, and I love that interaction. Sometimes you see it at the racetracks, in the stands before a race starts, all the interactions for the fans before a race starts, and I love to hear people's perspective. You can watch it on television all day or see it live if you're at a race and you say that looks easy. But until you actually try to do it yourself, that gives you a new appreciation of what it takes, your athleticism, and how much of an athlete you have to be to be able to service these NASCAR race cars when they come down pit road. It's not easy, and you guys probably can appreciate, when you go do one, the different, the new. The appreciation that you get for the people that do that for a living. Yeah,
for sure. Guys, we're about to wrap up here. So real quick around the room, what's going on this weekend? Dominic, you're back to the racetrack. I completed that West Coast swing there in Phoenix, right?
2 out of 3 and 3 out of 4 to begin the first part of the year. I'll be covering out there with Jonathan Field and our photographer, who happens to be my brother-in-law, Martin Vigil, to capture all the action at Phoenix Raceway. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm headed back to Tulsa this weekend for my mom's birthday. Not going to reveal her age on air, so I don't get mad at me before I even go up there. But happy birthday to my mom. Looking forward to seeing her this weekend. David, you got a lot going on this week with the racing school and everything, right?
Yeah, since I'm not racing Phoenix, working on a lot of my sponsorship stuff for the rest of the year, but since I'm not racing at Phoenix, we have the Good Guys Car Show here at the Texas Motor Speedway. So, hopefully we're going to do 600-700 race car rides and as many limo race car rides as possible. So we'll be at the racetrack Friday, Saturday, and Sunday doing that. We got some corporate events coming up next week during the week as well. So, but I'll be tuned in to the action going on there in Phoenix. It's always exciting racetrack, and all the races there are exciting. But I'm gonna have a busy weekend at the Good Guys Car Show, giving race car rides with our Team Texas High Performance Driving School. So it's gonna be a busy weekend.
Dominic, I mentioned my mom's birthday. You almost forgot somebody very important's birthday.
Well, save the best for last, right? My wifey, Felice, she turns 31 this week. So we celebrated her birthday actually before we came on air to celebrate the podcast. Her brother, our son Christopher, and myself, we got to go eat a nice seafood dinner, and it was a good time, guys. Friend of the show, she sends in questions from time to time.
Well, tell her happy birthday. That's amazing, man. That's new husband, new baby, and man, a great birthday, and man, life's good.
That's great.
Very
Right
good.
now.
Yes, happy birthday to Mrs. Dominic.
Tyler, you got it wrong. Happy birthday. I mean, no, it's not Mrs. Dominic. She's probably the boss.
Yeah, Dominic is Mr. Feliz.
Dominic.
I'm Mr. Feliz.
Yeah, you're Mr. Feliz now. Yeah.
Well, as you go, you can you wear the pants, but she chooses the color, right?
Yeah, she wears the fire suit in that family. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. With that, we got to go. We got to put the checkered flag out on this episode. Got some great stuff coming up the next couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. As always, subscribe to the show. New episodes out each and every Wednesday. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review or don't leave us a roll, and we'll see you right back here next week. For David Starr, Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks so long. Thanks for joining us.